I don't even know who that is.
Welcome to the Charter Township Comstock Board Meeting, Monday, April 27th, 2026. This meeting is now called to order. If anybody needs to pull their chairs forward, if there's any hearing impairments, you're more than welcome to move your chairs forward to here. We could all be respectful when the speakers have the floor to allow them one person at a time. And then as well during the meeting, considering the circumstances, if we could all do our best to let the board talk and handle business. We'll move along to standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll be looking for a motion for approval of the agenda.
Move that we approve the agenda.
Support. Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, seconded by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved. Moving along to public comment. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor, and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you're welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. Their contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful. And this first public comment is agenda items only. Thank you.
Well, hi. You know I don't come unless I have something important to say. I'm Mary Gustus, 5850 J. Steele, and I noticed that on this agenda that there is a purchase policy. It was my understanding that several years ago we did have a purchase policy in place, and I wondered if this was a new purchase policy, if this was a revision of the existing policy. And I want to make sure that if it is either a revision or a new policy, that it includes spending limits at different levels, and that if there's an expense of over $25,000, that there has to be a minimum of 3 bids that are presented to the board, and that the board makes the decision as to who is selected for those expenditures. I'm just really concerned that if in fact this has not been in place, that the spending that has been going on within the township has been excessive. So that's my concern, and I'll wait to make my other comment after when it's a non-agenda item.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Dean Rockwell, 8178 Fallen Middle Trail. My first agenda comment pertains to the agenda itself. I understand that, personal attacks, difficult public comments, accusations have added to the board's votes to change the format to agenda items only, even though it was a split vote. I do think the outcome of making residents in Comstock Township wait sometimes several hours for non-agenda items isn't in the best interest of normal residents and people with kids, families, school activities, work the next morning, people with disabilities. I think you should relook that, in my opinion. From watching the last meeting that I couldn't attend either because of my son's schedule, I could see that it did limit the number of public comments that were made, because one, not only so many people left after, understandably many hours of waiting, but also some of the board members had left. So I think regardless of where your votes lie, I think this is not a good outcome for the township. The second agenda item is for the bills payable. As I looked on the website today, looking at the township board invoices to your attorneys, Bockenthal, Kaufman, Coates, bills going back to November. The attorney fees were over $14,000. December, January, over $21,000. February appears to be above $12,000. March, over $13,000. Today, I saw two invoices, one for over $21,000, another one for $24,600. From speaking to supervisors, superintendents, and township managers in other areas in Michigan, some of the billing that you are having from your legal representation is not on par with what other townships. Every email, phone call, every time they fax, there's a bill payable. That is not the same. So what I would just recommend to the board, that I understand loyalty and you're happy with your coverage, but if there are other attorneys in Southwest Michigan that provide a similar service but do not bill, which I am now fully aware that is not the case. If you look at your bills payable in front of you today, they charged you $50 to scan in a document. Even a 2-second phone call that's asking for a status update from many of you, you're charged hourly rates. Simple question and answer feedback from your attorneys are not billed like that across the state of Michigan. I understand, you have this relationship, just like I had to review every contract at the VFW with long-standing relationships, and I had to start new relationships, and some I had to end. But I just think that looking at these bills payable, there is some excessive billing, in just my opinion, after looking at this over the last 6 months, and I think it just, is worth looking at. All right, thank you much.
Sorry. That's right. Dave Cameron, 1078 Verleen Street. I would like to respectfully disagree with our deputy supervisor. I think the idea of having agenda items at the beginning of the meeting, public comment at the end, worked quite well. The last meeting was pretty silly. Everybody cooperated on the board. The meeting went smooth until the end, where the attacks and the insults and all that stuff started again. Several of us walked out because we were tired of hearing it. Township business was over. And the people that left didn't need to stay and listen to the abusive language or abusive comments that were happening. So I disagree with it. I believe that keeping the agenda items up front gives the people a chance to address those items without having to have everybody or anybody on the board attacked by people coming up to the podium. Because that distracts from the business of the township.
Can you stay on the agenda items, Dave?
Who said it?
I said that. It's not on the agenda.
It
You're
is
talking
there.
past the time.
Guys, speak for
There,
everyone.
right there. This is crap. Pure crap that these people get up here and do this.
Where is what you're saying on the agenda?
Speaker has
Would
the
you
floor, guys.
please be quiet, sir? I mean it. Shut up. Right there. Bad behavior. My response was not real good. But by having agenda items only, and this is part of the agenda, to get business done, instead of having people insulted. And the people that left, the township business was over, the only thing left to hear was that type of behavior. Thank you.
So all I ask is that if we are going to do it, and even when the deputy was up here saying the same thing, it's not consistent. This is over, and even me having a discussion about the agenda topics is not appropriate. I would go even as far as to say what he just said is still not on the agenda. And continuing a discussion about how you feel about the agenda is not having a discussion about the agenda. So what Dave said is inappropriate and it's not on the agenda. He shouldn't have said it. Neither should have the deputy. I disagree with both of them.
I should not have interrupted you.
Guys,
Thank you, sir. So if you could please stop acting like a child, I'd appreciate it. Now, if we could go back to what my comment was, which is in regards to the fire department, the only thing that I asked, and maybe the clerk or somebody else, or the treasurer, is there any more nuance or minutia that we can get that's in relation to the operating fund on whether the expenditures occur within Comstock or whether they occur outside of Comstock Township lines? this would also help us in determining whether or not, like, do budgets need to increase or do they need to be managed separately if we are providing outside assistance to somebody else. I don't know if this is necessarily something that is generated outside of that in the fire operating fund line items. I haven't seen it when I looked online if there was any, segmentation about where these things occur. So I think that would be beneficial. And then I will echo the same thing in regards to the purchasing policy. If we can have something that relates to after a certain amount, and maybe that's already in there, maybe that's already in the discussion, that it will be, I think that is appropriate. What she had suggested is having limits on things. If it goes over certain amounts, the superintendent will be able to, or the treasurer, somebody can suggest what our average limit is that we have, or Brett, in determining whether or not that if 25,000 is appropriate, or should it be 30 or 50,000, I don't know, so that seems appropriate to me. And then, yeah, if there's not, I guess I can follow up with somebody else about whether or not if there's any additional fire operating funds where we operate outside of the township limits, and how does that impact us, and whether or not we need to increase our budget to support them if we're doing those things, or if we're not doing those things, if we're not going beyond the township limits. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Jamie Field. First off, we need an apology from the two that walked off the other night. According to First Amendment rights at a township meeting, all board members must be present at all comments. No matter how offensive or disagree, I have that in writing. You cannot walk off that board. Secondly, you guys got $9 million in 2021.
Ma'am, can we keep it to agenda items?
I am. This pertains to the fire department. That was supposed to be used, some of that was supposed to be used for the fire department, it wasn't. It was used for this. So that's on the agenda, the fire department, in which the money should have been funded to them. They shouldn't have to go get grants. Most of this money was supposed to go to the fire department. And what did you guys do? Spawned it off. Thank you. And I have to.
John Crowley, 9850 Miller Drive. Just looking at some of these bills and everything, I understand why some of the stuff, like, you're paying for, you hire a contractor and everything like that, but like, you could save so much money by taking some of these things in-house. You know, I hate to say it because I'm a contractor for lawn mowing and everything, but you spend almost $20,000 doing cleanups and lawn mowing for cemeteries, parks, fire department. I understand why it's $20,000. Labor ain't cheap nowadays, trust me. I'm trying to find a couple people to help out my business and everything because we're growing, it's great and everything, but like, it's hard to find labor. So when you find a good guy, you pay him good, and you gotta charge triple what you're paying him because of operating expenses, everything like that. But $20,000, you could buy 2 lawn mowers for about, $10,000 a piece. Hire a couple college people that get out, around April and everything. You could probably get all this stuff done and everything like that for a lot cheaper. I don't know for sure. I hate to say it because I would like to win the bid one day and everything like that for the business. But I mean, that is a lot of money that I'm just seeing, like, it's great on one hand, but as a resident, it's like $20,000 a month for taking care of everything. Again, business side of me, I understand, labor's not cheap. But as a resident, seeing that $20,000, you could save 5 of that, put it into a park. You could take it, go give it to some homeless people, give them some food or something like that. I don't know necessarily if this has a generator, because I do see some lights. But you think with how much money the township has spent on this building, you would have a generator out there to run all the lights and everything. Granted, that probably wasn't on topic for the agenda, sorry. we are spending a lot of money. And I think we need to figure out how to not spend as much. If that's taking stuff in-house, if that's getting more bids. You know, I'm not saying the parks and stuff don't look great, but $20,000 is a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Jeff Breeze, 233 Home Street. I'm another one that I'm totally against this comments on the agenda, and that's it. And I think the reason for that is simply because of the situation that occurred at our last meeting and the text that I received today. Basically, we were talking a little bit. I received a text from an anonymous source, as always, but I'm not statutorily obligated to sit here and listen to it. The company business was done, or the township business is done. I got it from mine. And let me not put I, because it didn't single out I, but it said that we don't have to listen to the bull crap. So who it came from, I have no idea. I kind of have an idea, but I would like to see it go back to the way it was. And I agree with Tammy. I think that by you limiting my speech as to if and when and what topics that I can talk on is actually a violation of my First Amendment right. So we're going to leave that as it is for right now, but I hope you guys come back to your senses and revert it back to the way it was.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, this is an agenda item. Instead of asking Andrew for a grant, the fire department, how about asking them to come down and clean up the river down by me, because there's still slicks down there from when they had their spill. I would like the water cleaned up instead of asking for a grant. Excuse me, but these lights flickering.
Yep, start to lose the batteries.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what I got to say. And I'm Jeannie Kissinger, 322 Lawndale. You know what? You heard it. And that's all I got to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Kathy Evans, 2213 Lee Avenue, and I just have some comments on the pending rezoning, ordinance number 567 to rezone property at 1654 Lee Avenue. I looked at the application and the process that's gone by so far. I guess my question is, the applicant has owned that lot. And as long as I can remember, my family has lived on that street over 70 years. And it's always been a house on that lot. The applicant has owned the property for over 20 years. And I'm curious as to why now, getting it rezoned to be in line with his other properties that Precision Tools sits on. What does he have planned? You know, why is it now an emergency to get this property rezoned? Does he plan to, because the property goes up the hill. And we don't need any more business. It's a residential street. And, you know, Lee and Stager, it's homes. We've had enough issues when the ballpark went in with traffic and not just volume, but speed, the way people drive down through that street. So this was the first I was aware that this has been on the agenda, and I didn't even realize there had been a planning commission meeting to address the rezoning issue. And I had to check some of the laws and procedures, and I didn't realize that you only notified residents within 300 feet of the subject property. So I'm just wondering, you know, what is the emergency and what does the applicant have planned for future use for that property that is rezoned? Because what he's claiming, it's like they're claiming that somebody colored outside the lines on the zoning map. But he's been receiving, or had been receiving tax bills for 20 plus years. And on the tax bills, it tells what the property is zoned. And he's claiming, no, it should have been commercial, it should have been business. You know, there's been a mistake. And why is it just coming up now? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further citizen comment? The restroom lights are likely off, so if we could do our best.
Spotlight's on your phone.
Where's Johnny? Yeah, my emergency didn't go off.
Yeah, if there would be a few volunteers to move that chart along the wall there, and let a little sunlight in, we could use all the help we could get. Thank you. Waiting for the timer.
Timer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was.
He was sleeping.
Fire alarm's going off.
Come on, Joe, goddammit.
I don't want the fire alarm to go off, I'm trying to go home here. All right,
That's okay.
Hi, my name is Emily Murphy. The zoning board of appeals appointments will be made tonight, and I think that this is a good time for a gentle reminder of Comstock's future growth and what the true intentions are of the township master plan. It is important to understand and adhere to our ordinances. Isn't this what continues to be pushed? That we must follow our ordinances. I am concerned about the possibility of new appointees allowing community members to circumvent Comstock ordinances so they may do what they wish in the township. I'm concerned about this because I've seen efforts to turn Comstock Township into a community of storage facilities. I have been present for variance requests as well as public conversations, hoping to circumvent these ordinances. I hope others find this concerning as well. What do we do as a township when it is hard to trust your government officials and their decisions? I ask the township board to be mindful about who you will be appointing tonight for the zoning board of appeals. I ask that you all ensure that they have Comstock's best interests at mind at all times and present that in all their decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further comments? If not, we'll be moving along to announcements for departments, boards, and commissions. Commissioner, have anything for us?
I certainly do. As soon as I can get my family out. Excuse me. Gee, it's a pleasure to not have a microphone here. Hopefully I'll be able to be heard throughout the room. I have three things I want to mention. Number one is the Kalamazoo Airport runway extension broke ground, so to speak. They've had some dignitaries out with shovels and sand, but it's going to take another year and a half. In all likelihood, probably won't be open until maybe the spring of 2028. But there'll be an extra 450 feet added to the main north-south runway, and it's not going to be anything that will bring in much larger planes. It's possible it could, depending on how the planes develop, but it's meant as a safety feature because especially since we get 100, I heard today 102 to 130 bad weather days during the year, so that's close to a third of the days. Airplanes are not landing on dry pavement. They're landing on something that's got snow, ice, rain, or whatever on it, and you need the extra 450 feet to make sure they can stop before they run off the end at the other end. Anyway, that's underway. There was a Skywarn training session on the 18th of April, and 2 Comstock residents attended. I got a breakdown of not who, but where they were based. And the Office of Emergency Management reported to me that there were 2 Comstock people that did participate in that training, and I salute them. My takeaway when I went through it at the same time was they had a lot of other good things, and one of the major things was there's a big difference between a funnel cloud and a tornado, and is it on the ground? And if you can't see the ground because it's blocked by a tree line or something, you're not supposed to report a tornado. You're supposed to report a funnel cloud. It might be spinning like hell, but it's not on the ground as far as you can tell personally. So don't say that. I wonder how many of our tornadoes or warnings are reported in that fashion now, because we don't have very many of these Skywarn observers in the city, or the county of Kalamazoo. And the last thing, excuse me, it has to do with the child care millage that's being proposed proposed. It's not officially on the ballot yet, but it will be, and I'm dead set against it. Childcare is important, I understand that, but we have a $325 million budget. We have no reason to spend money for another 4.5 to 5 million on childcare when we have $325 million we're already spending on everything else. And I'd like to see it come out of that 325 and not ask the good citizens of the county to cough up another million. Thank you.
Any questions for Commissioner Gisler? Thank you, Commissioner. There are no other further announcements. Moving along to the consent agenda, we have the approval of bills payable April 28, 2026, and then the approval of April 6, 2026 meeting minutes. Is there any corrections, any additions?
Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp. Second. Supported by Trustee MacGyver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. The consent agenda is approved. Moving along to presentations, through business, into fire and rescue for a request to submit a grant request to Enbridge.
I don't know if okay. Did he do any explanation to the agenda on these? Because all he has given me is what the request for, so I can't give the board whether they're, need, if they're 100% or if you absolutely match.
The memo mentions.
Does it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it does mention it.
Okay. And I think the chief is out, I'll do his, so the chief is out with a lot of storm damage tonight, so,
And an accident on Sprinkler.
yeah, there's a house collapse too, so I think the first one that the chief had a request to submit a grant request to Enbridge. In your packet, Comstock Township Fire and Rescue is requesting the board approval to submit a grant request for Enbridge to replace our current Freddy's a fire engine, fire prevention prop used in community education. This new prop will contain a new technology and better suit the schools and the public events. The grant request is $12,000 and there's no match for this grant.
Any questions for Superintendent Hess? If not, I'd be looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the request to submit a grant to Enbridge in the amount of $12,000.
Support. Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. Any board discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
The next one he's requesting is for, submit a grant request for the FEMA brick grant. Comstock Fire and Rescue is requesting the board approval to submit a grant requesting FEMA brick for $13,500,000 for the construction of new fire station 93, including severe weather hardening, backup power, and continuing operation capabilities. The 25% local match required would be $3.3 million. So what I remember what we discussed on this is he's trying to get to see, instead of going through the bond process, if the FEMA grant would come through, then we would only have to bond $3 million instead of the $13.5. So roll the dice and hope we get it.
And that would cover the whole project for the new?
Yeah. The bond is approximately $13 million. And so that if this grant came through, then it would only be $3 million.
And I may have a question for Brett. I also requested the brick funding to be on the agenda, and we decided it's going to be under fire for tornado sirens as well. So my question would be, is if a municipality in their fire department applies, does that limit the municipality from a board standpoint to apply, or could that be lumped in with that?
There's no
I know the
microphone, I
answer to
guess I
that.
can
I
speak.
can answer that question. You can submit two separate
Yeah.
requests. It doesn't have to.
I'd have to read the FEMA guidelines, but I don't think anything prevents you from submitting more than one.
Okay. questions? You looking for a motion?
I make a motion that we allow the chief to request to submit the grant request to FEMA BRIC, Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities to fulfill this need.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Pratt, supported by clerk Bochamp. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last one is request to submit a grant, the year 2026 notice of funding opportunity for the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. Comstock Fire and Rescue is requesting the board approve to submit a grant request to the Department of Transportation for the 2026 Safe Street and Roads for All program for $1.5 million. The request is to expand, formalize a roadway incident safety program. This will mirror the 2026 OHSP grant model, including staffing and the attenuator. The attenuator is what they pull behind on the highways, so if anybody crashes, it protects the fire department, so they know that. And the directional signboard deployment scaled into a larger and more sustainable program. Project will also include purpose-built chassis outfitted with a mobile barrier system to enhance lane protection and provide advanced shielding for responders operating a high-risk roadways environment. This addition, a drone for $35,000 will include to support traffic incident monitoring, improve scene size up, and reduce road wear exposure and time for crews. This project will also serve as contingency funding source, OHSP funding that is not awarded. This is a 20% local match required. Match will be met through personal time, program costs, and administrative support to this program. In this grant, we usually hopefully have a better chance of getting just because of the line of duty depth of our fire chief. It always helps to try to mitigate a lot more.
Any questions for Superintendent Hess? Be looking for a motion?
I make a motion we approve the County Council for the grant request for the fiscal year 2026 notice of funding opportunity for the Safe Streets and Roads for All program.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Cherry, supported by trustee Pratt. Any board discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Not sure now is the time, but we'll circle back.
Okay. Next is the annual report, but I think Matt can hold off on that. We'll put that on the next agenda, so if you need to, anything like that. So. All right.
Attorney Dahl, I have a question. Is there any way that, now that the agenda has been approved, that we could amend the agenda to under Supervisor to continue the BRICS grant funding opportunity for the Township Board pertaining to outdoor sirens?
If the board wants to entertain an amendment to the agenda, you can.
And so would I need to look for a motion? And
Yes.
I make a motion to include under Supervisor the BRICS, Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, under Supervisor.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll do that after ZBA appointments. Okay, moving along to planning and zoning. We have a second reading of ordinance number 567 at 5057 East Main and 1654 Lye Avenue, the rezoning request. Being that Casey's not here, Attorney Dahl, are you taking this one?
I don't care. It's up to you.
Well, so you discussed this previously, but this is a rezone. It's gone through public hearing at the Planning Commission with a recommendation of approval. It's a split zone property, which means currently it has single-family residential on it, and then also B3 general business district zoning on these parcels here. And So it went through public hearing, the recommendation was to rezone. It's in compliance with the master plan, you have a full packet of documents addressing this rezone. And you've heard it for first, you've heard it initially for first read, and this is for second read to consider your adoption of it. The number one thing that you look at for a rezone is compliance with your master plan. And I believe from the report, it is compliant with your master plan. And I think that there were some issues, there's a lot of historical documents in here, and some questions of whether it was ever, that there was an understanding that maybe at some points in time that it was all B3, and there was a lack of understanding how it got to be residential at one point, with it all being B3 at one point. So the main thing though that you're looking at is whether or not it's in compliance with your master plan. Also, you need to consider all uses in the B3 zone when you're considering rezoning to that use. All the permitted and special land uses in that zone are available if it is rezoned. But if you go through, it's on page 67 of your packet. It has the findings of your zoning administrator in that regard. The areas designated as mixed commercial on the future land use plan. The request is to rezone the parcels to B3 general, which is consistent with the master plan. And then you can look through the other standards that are there in regards to, there's 4 standards. And if you believe that those standards are met, then you can rezone the property.
Any questions for Attorney Thal? If not, I'd be looking for a motion.
Move that we approve second reading of ordinance number 567, 5057 East Main and 1654 Lee Avenue rezoning request.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Amos. Roll call vote?
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving along to Clerk Bochamp for the May 5th, 2026 election report.
Okay, as of today, exactly 1,500 out of the 3,155 absentee ballots that were mailed have been returned, or about 48%. For those who haven't returned their absentee ballot and need to spoil it, Friday is the last day to be able to do so. Absentee voters whose ballot was rejected due to a signature discrepancy have until Friday, May 8th to cure their signature. Those who want to register to vote or to be able to vote in this election must do so in person at the clerk's office with proof of residency. My office will be open this Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to assist voters with the May 5th election. Just a reminder that polls are open on election day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and we hope everyone gets out to vote.
Any questions for Clerk Bochamp? If not, we'll be moving along.
I just want to recognize Nicole Shook, who is here. If you could stand up. Nicole, she is the deputy clerk. She just completed the Michigan Professional Municipal Clerk Certification Program. This is a 3-year program to learn about all the aspects of the clerk's role and profession. This certification demonstrates Nicole's hard work, diligence, and commitment to the job. And I ask that you congratulate me or join me in congratulating Nicole on her hard work.
Any board member comments?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Nicole.
Now another township will steal it.
Why don't you get a raise?
Moving along to Treasurer's purchasing policy. Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes, I would like to have Brett Paget please come to the podium because he has been helping with this. And our Deputy Treasurer Knight, you as well, if you would so kind. Everyone should have had this in their last board packet, that we touched base on it. And you should have it tonight when we sat down at the dais. You should all have it. Brett went through and recontacted everyone. I thought we were pretty much set to go on this, but he has changes, so I would like to go over, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think that after listening to our residents tonight, I think they see how much money we're spending without having a purchase policy in order or at all anywhere. We're spending a lot of money that we shouldn't be, and I feel like it's this board's responsibility to correct that. So I hope we can work towards achieving that closer tonight, because tonight is the night I wanted to have this finished. So Brett, you met with some of the board members. I would like to go through the changes that they had recommended or were considering, and maybe ask those people why they were wanting the changes. Because I thought after you and I and Scott Hess and William sat down, I thought we had done a really good job of going through everything. So some of the things that I saw that they wanted to change, I was kind of shocked about, so.
Sure, so just to start, the policy you have in front of you is no different than the one that was at the last meeting. I have started a new version, but I wanted you to see the original to have comments on that. I did hear from some board members, the fire chief, the superintendent, but not everyone, so I was hoping to get some more feedback tonight. But the list there is just kind of what the feedback that I heard from everyone on one page so that you could all read it. And I think we did, sorry, Treasurer Bloomfield, I think we both agreed that it was very wordy and long, and we could probably say what we want in 19 words rather than 40 words in each paragraph. I think that's the biggest issue, that's the number one.
And
that's easy enough to do.
I thought we did correct that because we had 40-some pages in the first
Right.
one.
Well, I cut out a couple sections, but I'd like to not change the substance of the policy, but just say it in fewer words.
Okay.
I took a class at MT actually about more concise language, and it actually helped. So I'm going to apply that to the policy and maybe use fewer words to say the same thing, if that makes sense.
And you'll leave that highlighted red for all of us so we can tell?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I heard that so in the current policy, I believe the thresholds are anything below 5,000 needs no approval other than it has to be in the budget. Up to 25 between 5,000 and 25 is 3 quotes written, if you can get them. And then anything above 25 is sealed bids. And at least one, I think 2 people mentioned that those maybe, in the world we're dealing in right now, maybe are too low. I don't know what those should be. Possibly 50,000 for a bid, or maybe 15, 35, I don't know what they are. That's for the board to decide. But that was one of the comments, that maybe they're too low based on the purchases that we make. And that was that comment. Third one, using requisitions and purchase orders adds an unnecessary step in administrative burden. That could be the case. I don't know, because we've never used either of those things, so I don't know if that's a trial and see if it does actually grind things to a halt or if it helps. Purchase orders are required by vendors on occasion, not internally, but sometimes vendors, like for example, when we had to buy the fire truck off the lot, they require a purchase order in hand to make that happen. So that's another comment I heard. Also, at number 4, all references to the attorney should be removed. I think that was just for maybe to save attorney fees and not talk to them every step of the way, maybe have them look at the end. I think that was the impetus of that, not being in this policy. For example, it mentions the attorney shall be the, I guess, the legal advisor to the township, which is already the case, so why put it in there? That sort of thing. This is a longer one. So if an RFP is issued, the department head should form a committee, and the committee should make a recommendation to the board, which initially we had in there, but we removed because we thought the board should just see everything. And the reasoning was the board's not directly involved in the project and will not necessarily have the knowledge and insight to make the recommendation, but you'll still see all of the bids, even the ones that were not recommended for approval. That was the reason behind it. So, do you want me to just go through them all and then you guys can discuss them? Excellent. Okay. So currently, as we have it in the policy, all the bids are opened at a board meeting and then reviewed for all of the criteria at the time. The person I'm not sure who actually suggested this, but the bid should be opened in a board room, but not at a board meeting, noticed publicly for everyone to see. And then the committee can determine if they meet all the criteria, exclude those that don't, and then make the recommendation to the board at a later time for the board. 7 deals with the service contracts. They're not necessary in most cases. For example, the accountants that are actually here this week. We don't have a contract with them. We have a letter of understanding with them, and they list out their fees, and then the board decides if we want to use them for another year, and that just continues. It's not an ongoing contract necessarily. That's just an example of the contracts. And then finally, it should reflect more how we're currently handling purchasing and tighten things up rather than a whole new policy. And I think that was, I guess the point there was, things are, I don't know, going well. I don't know how to put that, but we should just take what we're doing and put it on paper, I suppose. And just to clear, there were some questions on how this came about. Most of this policy was other municipalities that we kind of pieced together and created the policy that you're looking at. So probably it's more than we need for our size. This came from a county, actually, most the nuts and bolts of it. So those are what I heard so far. So if there's other comments, or if anybody wants to speak on if one of these was yours, for some additional reasons, that would be helpful. And then I can take all of the comments, work with Treasurer Bloomfield, and try to pare this down to something more manageable, if that's acceptable.
I would prefer if it was you and our
Sure.
superintendent and the deputy as well,
Sure.
the 4 of us again, because that was a very productive meeting.
Okay.
So
Do you have, oh, sorry, got your back there. Do you have anything to add?
Only thing I have to add is that I'm in agreement with, there is a lot of fluff in there that we could probably take out, but I don't believe that the limits are too low. I believe they're pretty much just right.
and I would agree with that. Superintendent Hess or Brett, do you suppose either one of you could find the last policy we had? Because I know when Jerry and I served together, and I think you were on the board at the same time. Yes, you were, Brett. We did have a purchasing policy.
Yeah. We looked and
I
couldn't
looked
find
and
it
we could
anywhere. I
not
can
find
ask,
anything.
I can try to find Chad Mines, if anybody has his contact, I can ask, because he was on the board before me, if he has any idea where that's at. Or maybe Ann Newhouse, she may know.
Just to answer Deputy Treasurer, the dollar amount threshold, that was actually brought on by the fire department, because you understand a lot of the equipment that fire department buys, hoses are like well over 5,000, and if they need it and have to wait a certain period of time, they might not be able to get that equipment, to supply their safety to the community. Those were the thresholds that were brought up. And I think in the township level, we're not too concerned with that. Bid out a lot, but.
He did say in those kind of cases, he could rely, there's a section about emergency purchases. He just doesn't want to rely on emergency purchases because it's kind of a loophole, I guess.
I feel like once we get everything in place though, we'll get stuff in order and then it won't be an emergency board.
And it may be a good idea just to walk through with the fire chief and, go what he standardized purchases every year that is a reusable or item that, in fire services, nothing's cheap, so.
Anything else, Treasurer Bloomfield?
If the board has any comments.
Trustee Cherry?
A lot of the stuff, after I was reading it, the stuff that's in the email was a lot of stuff that I was thinking of as well. I mean, it's put together very well, and I'm sure you guys are really hard on it. So I commend you on that. But there is a couple of things, and this document does kind of serve, it was wordy. It was. So, but no, good job,
Thank you.
overall.
You should have seen it before we started.
Oh, I can imagine. Especially coming from the county.
Thank you, Trustee Cherry. Trustee Amos?
I just wanted to make a note that I believe that we don't need to raise the limit. I think it should be what it was before. That's all.
Thank you, trustee Amos. Trustee Pratt?
No comments, thank you.
I am in agreement with being more concise. The dollar amount, I think, is sufficient. I think it would be interesting to identify when that becomes a burden and keep track of that and adjust it accordingly. I don't know that I agree with the committee to get things done. I think if we can plan it and address it as a board, I think we possibly save one additional step. If the board has to approve what the committee did versus just the board approve it, I would be fine with that. And the service contracts, and I believe that everything should be closely guarded. That's it. Clerk Bochamp?
Yes, I have a lot. So I'll address Brett's list, but I'll go through the policy starting page 9. Purchase orders and blanket purchase orders. Brett did touch on this, but we don't generally do purchase orders. And I do agree that it would be kind of administratively burdensome. So I would like, I guess, to discuss what the need would be or what the intent would be to create that extra step. So I don't know if you want to answer that now, or you just want me to
No, I
go
prefer
forward
you
with my
just,
question?
yeah, just keep going, because
Okay.
the four of us will work together, Nicole,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Next one is page 10 with the contracts. We don't typically enter contracts for under the $5,000 amount. They are agreements, or we'll provide this service, this is how much it's going to cost, but it's not a contract per se. But if we ever enter into a contract, the township board always has to approve it. We never approve it administratively. So just a side note on that. Purchases under $5,000, we need a purchase order or direct invoice. I do think that is a little low. I do think $15,000 would be a little bit more reasonable with the way things cost today. $5,000 doesn't really even cover like the cost of mailing ballots, for example. It's just not, it's a bit low. So I would recommend $15,000, and then purchases between $15,000 and $50,000, as mentioned on page 12, from 5 to 25, that we increase that to 15 to 50. And the first point, goods, equipment under 10,000, I think would make more sense. At 20,000, I don't think we need a purchase order or blanket purchase order. The second one, goods, equipment, between, it says 10 and 25, I think between 20 and 50 is more realistic. And for number 3, services between 5,000 and 25, township board approved contract, but again, contracts are always approved by the township board. So I think if we're talking about high purchase service agreements over a long period of time, that would, to me, the threshold that would make sense is about 15,000. And then purchases over 50,000 would then go into the RFP procedure. Page 15, I don't understand what the scoring matrix is. I did ask Brett what this meant. We kind of do that informally when we're purchasing items, but I don't know if this is seeking a formal matrix. I guess I would like more clarification on what that means. And I don't think the attorney needs to be a part of all the RFPs. No offense, Attorney Thal, but that would be very costly, and this policy is to save us money, not cost us more. So I don't think, unless we get to the point of having a contract, that we would need the attorney involved. And it does also say the attorney shall act as legal advisor to the township, but they already do. So I don't think that needs to be in our purchasing policy. My other question for Brett or Scott is when we, page 16, when we post RFPs, it says on a statewide website, and is there a statewide website? I don't know the answer, so I'm just curious of what that means. page 18, bid opening and evaluation, I think should happen not at a township board meeting. Bid openings are a public process as they stand. They are noticed. The public can be present, but for the board to open, I don't know, if you could have, you don't know how many bids, 10 to 15 bids would be extremely time consuming. And the board would then have to weed out all of those that would not apply. I think it makes a lot more sense to have the procurement manager, the finance director, the department head, a committee, whatever, probably a committee, to kind of weed through those and let the township board have a summary and the ultimate say. The township board has the ultimate say, but I don't think they need to be part of the full day-to-day process. That would take 3 board meetings sometimes, depending on what type of project it is. And let me see if I have any other notes. I think that's all I had.
Thank you, Clerk Bochamp. Trustee McGyver?
No, I don't have anything, thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
I am not for raising the limits. I'll work with people on it, but right now I'm not there with it. I guess I would like to see a little more research. I would like to also see Township, which I think we need to research, all of us working on this, of our size and what the limits actually are. I think that would be interesting to see, which would probably answer a lot of our questions for that. And I know initially there was a committee in this policy, and the 4 of us had kind of talked about how it should come out of there. That was kind of the 4 of us that said we really didn't want a committee in there. And my feeling on that was I felt the township board needed to do their due diligence and have an education on what we're spending taxpayers' dollars on. And that's kind of why I kind of wasn't for the committee. But I'm willing to work with you, and we'll see where it goes. Brett, you have any questions, or William, for any of us?
And then as far as the questions raised by board members when you guys meet together, perhaps you could address those some way through the policy or send an email, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's any answer right now. Do you know, Superintendent, do you know if there is a statewide website that contractors can go on for bids? I just don't know what it's called.
Yeah, there's a web, it depends on, if we're into doing construction, there's the Builders Exchange that we use, that's kind of an association out of Grand Rapids we typically grab hold of. Statewide, I'm not sure if like the state of Michigan has one per se for that, but that's the one I typically use if it's a broader, like a construction project. But for lawn mowing, that is typically just this area, and if it's...
The idea there was just to get it in front of as many people that could bid as possible. That's the only one that I was getting to right now. And you sort of talked about the scoring matrix, and that's kind of like a grading system that the board or committee or whoever does would use on their own, and then they would come together and look at each other's scores and find out if they were on the same wavelength, that sort of thing. Which we do now when we open bids. The board, like when the mowing bids come out, Scott will summarize on a page, and then the board can kind of look at all the columns, the word columns.
So you're saying the scoring matrix would be different depending on...
Correct. The scoring matrix would have to change for every RFP based on what we're looking for that particular RFP. So it wouldn't be, the skeleton would be there, but it would have to be changed for each bid to make sure that they were submitting what we're looking for.
Okay.
In larger projects, when we use engineering services, then they actually would help put together the RFP, and then actually they run the bid opening, and then make sure all the insurance criteria, everything is in line, bonding, and then make sure that everything was apples to apples, and then passes along. So there's a check and balance.
Any further board questions? Thank you guys for all your work on this.
Thank you. I will get with each of you to make sure I got your questions correct. I was ready. Thanks.
Moving along to resolution 2026-6, a resolution recognizing National Police Week and honoring law enforcement officers. Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes, it is National Police Week, May 6th through the 10th. And I thought it'd be fitting if, as a board and as a community, we would recognize our law enforcement and everyone else who is working with them. So I believe I need to read this, Nicole.
No, it's in our packet, you don't
It's
have
our
to,
packet.
but you
Okay.
can.
No, that's okay. I just want to, I'll just elaborate a little bit more on it. It's also for Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office, Michigan State Police, and then and partly law enforcement agencies. It's also for dispatchers, correction personnel, probation officers, and anybody who serves with those professionals as well. So there is also day to honor them in Lansing, and I have that information and I do not have it with me tonight, so I am sorry about that. So I apologize.
Do we need a motion on this matter?
It's a resolution, so we should move to approve the resolution, then do a roll call vote.
Okay. I'd be looking for a motion.
I move that we approve resolution number 2026-6, the resolution recognizing National Police Week and honoring law enforcement officers.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. Any board discussion?
Yes, I had a question. Did you have something in mind already of what you wanted to do, or how does that work?
Actually, it came through the state that they're asking a lot of the municipalities to do that. And so they are having a ceremony in Lansing, especially for the fallen ones that we've lost.
So, would you
Where's-
want some of us to Lansing?
If anybody can, I think that'd be awesome if we could.
So essentially, we're supporting the resolution.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious if we were doing something like in-house or something here to show our recognition. That's
A thank you would be really nice.
Well,
to
yeah.
these people.
all. Well, yeah.
Treasurer Bloomfield, sometimes when we have resolutions, they just stay in-house and it's a resolution for our records. So sometimes we send them on. Is there anywhere that we would send this on?
If you don't mind, I'll see to it that it's sent on.
Okay, send it to you after it's
Yeah.
executed. Sure.
Thank you.
Any further board discussion? If there's no further board discussion, roll call vote?
Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Moving along to trustee, a follow-up regarding the planning commission letter. And then if this matters pertaining to my business, I'd make a motion that I abstain from the conversation.
I would support that, yes.
Yes.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving along to Trustee Pratt, follow-up regarding the planning commission letter.
Yes, thank you. I had made a request at the last meeting concerning a copy of the letter that was spoken about, I believe, at the planning and zoning meeting on the 26th of March. And so this past Friday, after returning from MTA in Traverse City, I found a letter. And so I have it here. And it is from the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and regarding what had been voted on at the meeting of the commission on the 26th. This meeting occurred 2 days after we had a hearing on soil friends at the high school. And so I'm somewhat confused. I saw most of the meeting of the Planning Commission and understood that there was going to be a letter. I was not sure who the letter was for, but apparently, and I say apparently because I don't know for sure, but the letter I have here, it has a CO for the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, and to whom it may concern. Well, the meeting of the Planning and Zoning occurred, again, 2 days after we had a hearing concerning soil funds. And at the end of that meeting, there was a motion made, and 4-2 with one abstention vote, that we forward the issue that we had before us up to the Michigan Liquor Control Office. And so it's still there from what I have understood, in the time has passed. It's still there being looked at. So again, I'm confused on why the chair first felt it was necessary to send a letter to the Michigan Liquor Control. She used a heading for the entire board here. I don't know if any other board member who was aware that this letter was going up there. I certainly was not. All our names are there attached to the heading for the Township Board. As I've spoken before, my past is working with state and federal agencies, and this is something that would not ever be done without a say by the people that's listed. My interpretation, and I don't know, I won't say it's exact and accurate, but I want to get feedback, and I have a motion to make after I finish here, that any letter going out to an outside agency that has our board named on it, the Township Board and all of our members on it, should be run past the board. Should be no exceptions. The question that's posed is somewhat, in my interpretation, contradicts what the decision that the board made in sending deferring this up to the Michigan Liquor Control Office. So I would imagine, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine it would cause some confusion in Lansing of what is certainly going on down here, whether this letter is more accurate or the decision when we made the reference up to them for their input under the state laws, in addition to the ordinance down here. So again, I was confused. I don't think, as it was sent, was appropriate. I don't know whether I know the members of the commission, I believe, voted to have a letter created, but I don't know for sure if they knew what the letter, or if they'd seen this letter. I certainly have not. So, and again, I think it's contradictory to something the board, in fact, acted upon 2 days before that planning and zoning meeting. So the author here mentions that she didn't know of any issues of disagreement, but again, she's the chair of the board, of the commission, I should say, and she was in fact at the hearing. So she should have been aware that a decision was made, and we as a board chose to pass that on to Lansing to get their input, their legal input. So I think this is highly unusual, and again, I'm not aware of this happening in my past. So I'm making a motion for our attorney, Robert Gall, to look into the entirety of this and to bring back information to the board for possible action. And again, and I think I may have mentioned or not, there's no date on this letter. I don't know if it was actually delivered or not. I did call the Michigan Liquor Control Office today to see if they had actually received this or not. I did not get a call back, but I did leave a message. If there's any board member that is aware that this letter actually arrived up there, I would appreciate any information that they have, or any other information that would help relieve the confusion I got by reading this. Again, a letter went out with our name as a board, our individuals, and we did not know about this.
Attorney Thal, the ordinance violation was for Ben Martin, correct? Because of his winemaking license, and he is an elected official, and this township has an ordinance that if someone has a liquor license and they are elected, they cannot hold public office. From 1983, this ordinance was. Is that correct?
So,
It was Ben Martin, it was not Soil Friends, and that's where you find your confusion and your loss, Mr. Pratt. Soil Friends was not and is not in violation with the ordinance for the township from 1983 when you hold the liquor license.
Soil
It
Friends
is not
the
Soil Friends.
business that both Mr. and Mrs. Martin have. And that was before our discussions before. You had attempted to get the minutes changed, but the reading, as I stated in our last meeting, was exactly as Attorney Thal gave me to read. I read that, and we did not change the meeting. It's Soil Friends.
And Soil Friends is not in violation. Again, Soil Friends is not, again, in violation with the ordinance. The person is the ordinance names an elected official, not a business. I don't know how else to have you comprehend that.
I think
And the letter was sent.
Liquor control is reviewing everything involved with that. And there were some other things had at the hearing that was allowed to pass without challenge because it was a hearing, and the Martins, both of them, asked Soil Friends. And in this instance, on Thursday, the 26th, when you refer to a email that you had received, that in fact was from Mrs. Martin, part of Soil Friends. You turned that over to the chair to deal with. And so we have here an issue that I think has conflicts in the entire process that we have in going through not only this but several other issues. And here you have, there's no mention of the resident, which again was Mrs. Martin, bringing this to you, and you turning it over to the chair to write a letter in support, basically, for a decision that we as a board had already made 2 days prior.
It was in support, Mr. Pratt, of no violations for Soil Friends.
Did you check with the ordinance officer on that?
No, I did not.
I did not
checked with-
think so. Did you check with the administrator of zoning on that?
She was sitting in the meeting, Mr. Pratt.
Did you check with her?
How
Or
would
did
she
you-
know?
Or did you silence her?
Why would I silence her?
I don't know. Why would you silence her?
I wouldn't.
You
I
did
wouldn't.
not.
No, I did not silence her. Why would I? Let me ask you this. If we're going to sit here and go back and forth and nitpicking about this, was there a letter sent
This
from
is-
this board?
was
Was there a letter sent from this board to the Liquor Control
Did you notify the
Commission?
board of what you were going to do or have the chair do in sending this letter
Was
to
there a letter?
Lansing, Michigan?
Was there a
concerning
letter
the
sent
issue
from this
that we
board
had
to the
already
MLCC?
decided?
Was there a
I think we
board?
need a chair, somebody to help moderate this, because this is not working. So-
Was there a letter sent from this board to the Liquor Control Commission? Because if there was, you better eat crow, because I never received it. I don't think Ben did. I don't think Jerry did. And if my name's on that and I voted no, you need to eat crow, because you're sitting here saying, this attorney can't do this
We decided that meeting for the decision.
So
Again,
where
it was
is my
4-2.
copy?
You had two vote, you had one vote in the negative, it was 4-2 with that one abstention, but that was sent on to Lansing, and that was the end of it. You were quite aware of what went on there.
Did I say I wasn't? Where's my
Well,
copy?
then why
Where's my
are you,
copy?
why are we
What went?
going down this path? You were
Because you
there,
are sitting
you
here
gave-
making
you
accusations of
gave
something
No
you already know.
accusations. You gave the chair the information you got from the resident who happened to be a part of that decision.
What are you so afraid of, Mr. Pratt?
I'm not. You're afraid of by having the truth not come out.
Who's
What do you
running
want
the
me to
meeting?
say?
We will, John, you and I.
Let's all run, the residents could do about it.
You know,
So
we'll do
what
like,
needs to
Jay,
happen?
hold on,
The fighting needs to stop.
we'll do like we were kids,
Hold on.
make them hold hands.
hold on. So I think you just, everybody said their piece. I understand your point, but I think we kind of need to move on from there,
Yeah.
so.
I like it.
Was there a second on the motion?
Then you wonder why the township can't get along.
What was the motion?
I think I'll
The motion was to have our attorney, Robert Gall, look into this matter of this letter and how it got to be here. And how, why it was sent to an outside agency without input from us, the board.
Pay more
Has
money.
anybody saw this letter?
So there needs to be a second.
Has anybody
first
saw this
before we
letter?
talk about it.
He's got it.
So,
Hold on a second, hold on, please.
Now put that
Actually,
on
a second before
Guys, please stop talking.
keep going on this. Is there a second to the motion, otherwise the motion passes?
This,
Yes,
oh, this is the letter?
yeah.
And it has your name on it.
He's got to put that
Because it's on letter.
Which is,
All right, is there a second to his motion? Because if his motion is not seconded, there's no more discussion.
I'll second so we can discuss.
motion made by trustee Pratt, seconded by trustee Cherry.
Now we can actually discuss and have dialogue.
And then it would be helpful to maybe have Attorney Dahl moderate this since
Yeah, just, I mean, discuss the motion, then call the question, which would be to vote.
So my question is to have him look into exactly what, the legality of the letter going out without us knowing with our names on it? Is that?
That is in part, yes, thank you. As well as, again, from my background, again, it may not apply here, but the state rules that you would never have somebody forward a letter of communication on an opinion which they had not been asked to form by anyone. Have this letter sent out which somewhat contradicts the action that we as a board took 2 days before the meeting we were planning and zoning. I think this letter is totally inappropriate and should be called on for investigation of how we got here with this letter without no one knowing about it. And I only got it, and we only got it last Friday after I put it on the agenda as a follow-up item. I had asked for this at the previous meeting. I was informed by the treasurer that as soon as it was available. Again, the letter has no date on it. Was it sent right after the 26th public, or the P&Z meeting on the 26th, or what? We had, again, our meeting on the 24th, Tuesday. And the decision was made, we had the vote, it was sent on, and we weren't going to do anything as a board until we got feedback back from P&Z on the status. And lo and behold, this goes up sort of as a, people like it here, and gives another opinion, and she speaks the author as if she is part of this board. She is not. She is part of it. She is chair of the planning and zoning. And I've never seen a chair of planning and zoning in going 7 years plus of just sending out a letter because of what? Again, I don't know if the other commissioners know of this letter. We didn't know about it. They indicated that a letter should be sent, but there was some confusion on the board of commission about what it was going to say. So, do they know? We didn't.
So we just go around. Jerry, do you have any comments? Any discussion? On the motion. Nicole,
A clear.
Terry? I understand. Cindy?
I think I've already stated.
Okay, so then call vote.
Shut up, Pratt.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Pratt, seconded by trustee Cherry for Attorney Thal to look into the matter of the letter and how it came to be. So, we'll do a roll call. Trustee McIver,
Yes.
trustee Amos,
No.
treasurer Bloomfield,
No.
trustee Pratt,
Yes.
trustee Cherry,
Yes.
clerk Bochamp, yes, supervisor Martin is abstaining, 4 yes, 2 no.
Go ahead, we have problems.
No comments, please. Another $2,000. Now we're moving along to trustee Pratt, I believe, for public comment, discussion, and possible action.
Yes, once again, I feel I need to bring up the issue of public comment. We, I believe, did have some success after we brought it forth. This is an ongoing issue, unfortunately. It's happened this past year. We've made amends to what we had approximately a year ago, trying to get a better response. Again, I think everyone here in this audience knows what should happen. I say that because, again, my 7th year of doing this type of work in the previous years, outside of this last one, there has been no issues like this. And so I know we can do better, everyone, audience, board members, everyone. So at this point, I would just like board members to consider any kind of revisions that we need to make this entire thing better. I have some things in mind, but again, at the next meeting, I'd like to get input back from board members of where we go from here. Because as the MTA conference, we all, or some of us attended last week, one of the presenters indicated that even though we have every session for public comment, things should be polite and considerate. Usually it goes sideways or down. And I'm not pointing fingers, but that's the way it usually happens. And I think we can do better. That same presenter indicated that if we have a norm and people continue to violate that norm, what we have is a new norm. And I'm fearful that what we have here by some people creating is what is going to become the standard for the future. I don't think that's appropriate for our community. I've said that often over this past year. We can do better. I know it because I've lived here for 35, 36 years. So that's all I have to say on that. Again, at the next meeting, I'm going to put it on the agenda, and I'd like input from each of us. How we can make this process better for everyone.
Trustee Cherry?
Yeah. So let's visit what agenda and non-agenda items are defined as. Agenda items, what's on the agenda, right? Non-agenda items. Oh, I really love that pickleball court. Or, oh, I'd like to see on the next agenda an update on the homeless community. That would be really nice. That is non-agenda items. Not, Cherry, you're evil. Cherry, let me bring up your dead daughter. Cherry, let me bring up your husband. That is not non-agenda items. That's just personal attack for no reason. And I'm not going to apologize to anyone for walking out the last meeting, because I am not going to defend myself, but I will protect myself. Hear that now. I'm not going to defend myself, but I will protect myself.
We don't have microphones, and it's hard enough to do this. We don't even have the lights on. If we could all just be polite and let the board speak, it would be greatly appreciated.
So,
That
and
way we
that's,
could maybe make it out of here before it gets dark, because that'd be a good idea.
thank you.
I understand.
So it's like, it's okay that it's the do as I say, not as I do, or it's okay for us, but not okay for you mentality. And that is not in and of itself right anyway. Nobody in this room would go to work every day knowing they're going to be personally attacked or threatened or, for goodness sake, lied against. And it's generally just one person that does it. But nobody would go there willingly every day knowing that they're going to go through that and not be able to defend themselves or say a word. Not one of you. Not me. You know. Normally, you go up your chain of command. We have no chain of command.
Guys, please, no comments. Stop. How old are you? Seriously, stop commenting when board members are talking. It makes it really difficult. Stop.
Thank you, Mr. Guest. So that is my 2 cents on it. I don't know how to alleviate the public comments or how to make them better or, you know, more respectful, because there are a couple people that even, they put their toe over that line when it comes to disrespectful and rude. They really do. You know, but not so far out of the way. And so I just don't know how to bring that back or how we can bring that back to a more civil and, hey, let's stick to this township business. Let's not stick to personal attacks, which have nothing to do with township business. So, I mean, if you got a suggestion or anybody else, please, love to hear it.
I'm going to set on mine until the next round, the
Okay.
next meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Cherry. Trustee Amos, do you have anything?
Well, I spent some time in the military, and I spent time working with bosses and union people that, this is a cakewalk as far as I'm concerned. And I understand that people say things that they shouldn't, but,
This isn't military either.
really?
No.
Don't you think I know that?
There's not a lot of things that we're kind of.
Come on, keep it peaceful.
I didn't interrupt you.
You didn't, you're right, I apologize.
Anyway, I'm just saying that you can't control the people or what they say, and I realize that some of the comments are not very nice, and people could tone it down a little bit. But everybody has their opinion, and they have the right to express their opinion, and I'm just telling you what is said against us and what people post online and all that kind of stuff is nothing compared to what really goes on in the world out there when you work and you're in the military. And so I'm just saying, you know, just tough it up. Part of the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Amos. Trustee Pratt, did you have anything further?
Just one brief thing, as somebody has commented, as we're up here listening to comments, whatever public comment, first or second as this is now, we, by protocol, cannot respond. So we're here, for some people, sitting ducks. Target to say whatever they want to say, and we sit here as if speechless because protocol, we can't say one damn thing. And when it comes to our time for comments, and we, certain of us that discuss, I'm not going to respond in the way that some people respond or attack us. I had, I think, a good conversation with one person who, at the last meeting, threw a lot of distraction at me and accusations, but after the meeting was over, I think we had a good conversation. And I try to emphasize, I hold no personal animosity toward anyone. Your opinion is your opinion. I'm here just to do a job for this township, and that's it. I've been through a lot of this before. As Trustee Amos has said, I was in the military too. And that, you can take a lot and you know how to give it too. But that's not my purpose in life. I've worked with some critical care residents in the past, psychiatric residents, everything you could think of in that category. I've been taught how to respond and to deal with that and to get the job done. And so here, as I've stated earlier, I've been here, this is going my 7th year, and I've seen a lot of things, but I've not seen anything like this past year. And as I said before from this dais, the campaign for some people seems to continue. The objectives was listed before the last election. And for some people, I don't say all people, but for some people, the objectives are there. I'm not on Facebook. I hear things occasionally, but that's not me. I believe in conversation, face to face, and I can be and will be quite honest.
Alrighty, we're gonna get back going. I believe we were still possibly, we were actually at Trustee MacGyver. Trustee MacGyver at the public comment, discussion, and possible action. Just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. Anything that
We have microphones now, they're working.
I see, anything I could say about what the members of this board have said, I would pretty much mirror it. It's difficult. I know we have to take it, and it's part of the protocol, like Trustee Pratt said. But I think as the community, as the residents, which I am a resident as well, we could probably get a lot more done in a lot better fashion if we could just remember, we all have feelings, we all have opinions, and most of us had a side maybe that isn't too pleasant, but I think we all have a side that's totally fine. And if we could just get along on that basis or something close to it, it'd be great. So thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee MacGyver. Treasurer Bloomfield.
Who remembers January and Facebook, why I was attacked and what for? Yeah, raise your hands. Yeah, that was quite wicked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who remembers me getting attacked by one of the trustees up here for a personal court item? Yeah. How many of you know that that trustee was sitting in my court with somebody else in this audience for how long? How many of you know that that same trustee asked to do just what just happened here, to spend more money with the attorney, with your tax dollars, to come after me to see if I could get removed from the planning commission? And then once this attorney sitting next to me wrote the legal written opinion, it was sent to this board. And then the same day, we were all handed up here a sheet of paper with our names shadowed in the back. Mine said Bloomfield. And it said, attorney-client privilege. Whatever I email to you can't be shared. So you know what? Nobody knows what happened with my court case. But I will tell you, justice was served. Justice was served along with an additional fine placed on the person that I countersued. So there is justice and there is a God. Back to this board. When we're going to sit up here and attack each other like that personally, bring in something personal as a court case that has nothing to do with this township, we're spending valuable time and resources. And that needs to stop. The attacks on businesses need to stop. When I sat in that meeting in March up at the high school and saw how many businesses stood before us and said, I don't want to do business in here, can you blame them? And then we have zoning problems because of mistakes. I mean, there's more to the puzzle than just personal attacks and how we treat each other. It's doing our jobs and doing them right. and listening to you people. That is the biggest problem I see with this board. And the other part of that piece for me is this board for 8 years, I believe, had 7 yes votes for everything. That's not going to happen anymore. That's not going to happen up here anymore. I'd like to see it happen sometimes, but it's not going to. Because there's a different mindset up here now for some of us. We listen to you and we react to you. And that's one of the reasons I keep pushing this procurement policy. I sit here, and as you know, most of you, I took away the auto pen how long ago? That wasn't very favorable with a lot of people. But I see where the money goes, I see where we can save money, and it's real hard to do that when you have a 4-3 vote. And if you really want to see where your money's going, go through your board packet and look to see where we're spending it. Because some of it, I just want to shake my head. You would just be amazed if you saw some of the bills that my deputy and myself see. We aren't looking out for your pocketbook. If we were, your taxes wouldn't be so high. You'd probably have some more respect for us if we were trying to save you some money instead of spending it every time you turned around. And the phone calls I get from single people, it's amazing how they're struggling to keep their head above water. And I think a lot of this board and a lot of the people that work for this township have lost sight of the fact that you residents are struggling. You don't have enough services for what you pay for. Your taxes are high and you can't get answers. Thank you.
Any further board discussion? If not, be moving along to Supervisor. Water testing kits. I received an email from the County Health Department. Good morning, Ben. Our office has supplied water sample bottles to your office over the years so that your residents can stop in and pick them up to perform water testing. Environmental Health has come up with a countertop water testing kit display. The hope is that you would have space on your counter that we would place this with the kits bagged as seen below. This will help you not have random bottles floating around, etc., as well as promote people testing their well water. Let me know if you would like to set this up and I can have someone stop in with it. The box is approximately 12 inches by 12 inches. Thank you, Lucas. I know we talked about water multiple times throughout the last 18 months or so, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to let residents know that this is available, but then see if the board wants to have these made available to the residents here at the township. So I'm not sure if this would be something that we would need a motion on, or if we just had a general consensus. I could email Lucas back. Would you recommend we vote? Motion. Okay. I make a motion to let the Kalamazoo County Health Department supply water sample bottles to Comstock Township.
Support.
Everyone support. So I wonder who the first one there was. Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Trustee Cherry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion opposed. Motion passes. And there is a
Supervisor has, Superintendent.
Or did you say it was actually a testing kit, like they could bring in the water and test it?
I think what he's meaning is that those vials, those little bottles have something inside of them, and then you would just be able to take those kits to the lab. Okay. And then I would say, you know, when you're testing your water, you definitely just want to make sure that your hands are clean and that your faucet's clean and you let your water run. And I'm sure on the, maybe we'll find a way to post it on how to properly take samples.
I mean, they come with some kind of instruction.
They do, but when you do get your, I have quarterly tests that we do, and you have to like let it run for a minute and have clean hands is a huge part of it. Okay, so moving along to the ZBA appointments, we have a ZBA, we have a interview committee, Treasurer Bloomfield, myself, and Trustee Pratt. We have had numerous interviews with individuals, and then we followed up and had some conversations. We determined that it would be best to bring it forward. Ultimately, the Township Board is the ultimate decision maker here. We did have one individual, Jody Colby, that has served for many years as recently as the chair of the ZBA. So I would like to make a motion to reappoint Jody Colby to the ZBA. Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Trustee Pratt. Well, do we need a roll call vote?
We don't, but we can if you prefer.
Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Cherry? Yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, and then since we had a committee of 3, there was a 2 of us wanted to appoint Lori Kreitzer, and so I make a motion to appoint Lori Kreitzer to the ZBA.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote?
Can we have discussion?
Yes.
So hold on a second. Martin, Bloomfield second. You said there were 2, but there are 3 of you on the committee, so I'd like to hear from the third one on input on this candidate, or if you guys could talk about what the committee talked about.
Yep, so I supported, I'll let Treasurer Bloomfield speak for herself and Trustee Pratt. I supported Lori. I thought she did a great interview, and I really was intrigued with her real estate experience. I thought that would add a good value to the ZBA. Treasurer Bloomfield? Trustee Pratt?
Yes, I do admit that as I mentioned before, we had some excellent candidates applying for these positions, and total we have, with a change, we had 3? It went from 2 to 3 positions that we
had 2, and then Jody's term was up, so we are essentially reappointing her to continue a new term.
And so we have 2 others to appoint. And Lori Kreitzer had, I think, some excellent background. I did not support her for the final because of other candidates. I thought had more background in what we do as a township here. And but she is an excellent candidate, and I did place her when we were thinking about having an alternate, and I thought she would fit the bill for that position quite well.
Trustee Cherry? Trustee Amos?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Clerk Bochamp?
So I guess before we vote on anyone, Jody obviously is keeping her seat, but the rest are new fills. I'd like to hear all the candidates that you decided before we vote on one, but also I don't know if you were aware, we do have an alternate seat available as well. So technically it's 3 more positions.
We are aware of that. We were having a hard enough time getting this done, and we were hoping to figure out a path for the alternate once we got these 2 appointments done. And so with that, I did make a motion. There was support. Can we vote it? Or any further discussion?
I'll pass back to you.
Trustee McIver?
No, thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No, Lori was also one of my choices.
Roll call vote?
I guess I'm not ready to vote yet. I didn't, my question wasn't answered when I said, could we know before you select one, who the selections are? It will give us a better idea of what we're voting on, or who we're voting on. So was there another candidate before? We don't even have to make a motion, just discussion on what the whole group was thinking in general.
So we have a motion, we have a second. We've had this discussion before, and I was going to make the motions. We can vote it out, and then if something else happens, we can go from there. But Lori was the next candidate. I've made appointment to the Planning Commission where I've bulked them all together. It's got denied. It's been recommended to split them up individually. So I'm bringing back the appointments for the majority. of the committee that we formed, 2 of 3 individuals wanted to select Lori. There's been a motion, there's been a second, and I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cherry? Yes. Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
No.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay. And our third appointment was 2 to 1, and that was Dave Vander Warden. And Dave was a licensed builder, actively building homes. And I really like that from the standpoint that that is the guy building a house from the ground up on a lot that he may have to, he will certainly have to have setbacks. And there's certain instances, certain people want certain homes, and there's got to be a little give and take to work to help from the business as the contractor to help the homeowner accomplish their goals. I believe he would just be a great person with a great perspective. If somebody were to come wanting a variance, he would have real-world practical experience. And I think that paired with a individual on the board like Jody that has had years of experience, like Lori that has real estate experience, I think you can't beat having a licensed builder on the board. So I would make a motion to appoint Dave Vander Warden to the ZBA.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Board discussion? Trustee Cherry?
No, I don't have
Trustee Amos?
I read these over, and I agree with you. A builder, I think, would make a very good candidate for this, so I would support it.
Trustee Pratt?
Mr. Vander Woerden was an excellent candidate. Again, as I had mentioned before, we had several excellent candidates. I would not support him for a permanent position. I would think he would be ideal for when we get to the point of an alternate. So I'm voting no at this point.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Clerk Bochamp?
I'd like to hear who Trustee Pratt's selection would have been as being on the interview committee.
That's perfectly fine. My selections initially, and I had Jennifer Burnett as being my number 1 pick. Lori Kritzner was my alternate for third pick, and Dave Cameron was my second pick for the full position. And just to let people know, I had been leaning toward Mr. Chris Daniels before the input that I think attorney gave, or at least I understand that he gave concerning somebody doing or having contracts with the township. When I was in my first term as a trustee, we did make an exception at that point, even a person with contracts, if there was no conflict at that time with anything, we did allow that person to work in the capacity or as a committee or even on the board. But with this new ruling, I'm going with that, and so because of that, I scratched Mr. Daniels off.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Clerk Bochamp?
One of the openings is a resignation that ends this year, 12/31/26. And one was a term that expired 12/31/25. So this motion is for which term? Do you know who they would replace? I have it in front of me if you need to review that. Just so I have it for the records.
So we can go with Lori for this one. That was the one that already ended, right?
Yes.
And that's the term?
From Patrick McVeary. Lori will take that spot. And the motion on the table is for Ronald Covenhaven's spot. And then we do have an alternate, so I wonder if tonight we could also just vote on an alternate for because there were multiple candidates that the committee necessarily didn't agree on, but maybe one of them we could also appoint as an alternate tonight if the board would agree with that.
Trustee MacGyver?
Looking at all their applications, the 3 people and 4 people I looked at, they're all good choices, but we'll just have to wait and see how the vote goes, I guess, as far as I can see.
Thank you. Treasurer Bloomfield?
Mr. Van Werden was the best choice. He, like you said, he was a builder, is a builder. He understands setbacks, and he's worked with CABA, so he was a very good applicant. We were lucky to have him, in my opinion.
In my thought on Mrs. Burnett is during her interview, she didn't have any experience in the ZBA realm. And I think the ZBA is not a board that is as utilized as the Planning Commission. It only has meetings once in a while. And so I don't think that you get those frequent opportunities to have meetings to continue to learn. And I think that the ZBA, in some senses, for a business that's trying to move forward, or a resident, or a homeowner, a builder, it's kind of like their last stop. So that, in my opinion, was having a real-world practical builder have that experience on the board, I think would certainly serve our residents and builders well. If there's any further board discussion?
Yes, concerning, again, Mr. Van der Worden was a good candidate, and I just did not think that moving into a slot, the building experience is excellent, I might add too. But on Jennifer Burnett, she's a long-term Comstock resident. She has been a volunteer for the township in numerous things. She, again, continues to live here in the township. She works in Richland in several different areas dealing with issues like the ZBA and others. So, I think she's an excellent contestant for this position.
Any further board discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cherry? Yes. Trustee MacGyver?
No.
Trustee Pratt?
No.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. 5 yes, 2 no.
Could Jennifer be considered for the alternate? Bob? Oh, here.
Bob, Trustee Pratt.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I think she would be an excellent choice.
That would let her get her feet wet and really get into it if she wanted.
Okay, yes, but
Right.
So we can make that motion tonight. So I'll make it. I move that we have Jennifer Burnett be second alternate for the ZBA.
support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion, sorry. Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield.
You're welcome.
The lights are back on. We had a little bit more time.
Well, she was not my next choice. Actually, Paul Cherry was. I thought he did an excellent interview, and he has had experience with building also. Some of the other candidates were good, but I felt like he was the next most qualified. And I loved his problem-solving skills. He really knew how to solve problems when it came to dealing with issues and being under pressure. I was really impressed with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. Trustee MacGyver?
No, I'm good right now, thanks.
Clerk Clerk Bochamp, anything?
Nothing else.
Trustee Pratt?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Trustee Amos?
I'm good.
Trustee Cherry?
Yep.
No comments from me, so roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Martin?
No.
Trustee McIver? Clerk Bochamp, yes. Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay. Thank you guys for getting that done. We got a fully stocked board now. And we'll be moving along to the bricks sirens. I hope Brett's still here. Is he around or is he gone?
He's gone.
Okay. So I found out about this program through West Shore Services. Multiple vendors have followed up on the outdoor warning sirens. And then per our recommendation from Brett to go through the financial audit of the township, he told me that we should be in a better position to make a really firm decision sometime mid-May. And so since then, both companies that we've reviewed have followed up just to see where we are. A couple of them have honored keeping the pricing the same. And then, so one of them, West Shore Services, sent an email in regards to other municipalities purchasing sirens from them that they were funded through these programs, or perhaps getting quotes from them so they can be funded. And I sent this to Brett, and he said, good afternoon. Yes, warning systems are on the list of approved projects. See page 48 of the attached policy guide. However, local governments are considered a sub-recipient and must apply through the state. See attached MSP bulletin with Michigan-specific information. Based upon the bulletin, the township would likely have to match 25% of the cost. For this year's round of projects, the deadline to file a notice of intent is April 29th. So if this board would want to decide that we would want to try that, maybe we could ask Superintendent Hess for his insight. But I think that paying for 25% of the outdoor warning sirens would be a lot better than paying for 100% of them. And the question was asked earlier if that would jeopardize either the fire department or the township. If that wouldn't jeopardize their project, I would soon run a parallel that they submit and see if they get approved. Fingers crossed that they do. But then also as the township board that we take action to engage in an opportunity to match 25% of the cost. Trustee Cherry, any?
No, that's a great idea to try to offset it, bring that cost down for us. Absolutely.
Thank you. Trustee Amos?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Trustee Pratt?
No comments, no.
Clerk Bochamp?
I'm in support.
Trustee McIver?
Yeah, by me, no thanks.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes. Good
Okay.
idea.
So are you wanting a motion to apply to the grant, and then you would be the one to prepare that?
I could sure try my best.
Okay.
I'd likely need some help maybe from Superintendent Hess or Brett, but I would be willing to do the footwork. I've called around to a lot of municipalities and did more research than I thought I would on sirens and outdoor warning signals, and communities had really big projects. Like there was one that had 73 sirens and multi-million-dollar projects. So ours being, roughly around a third of $1 million, I'd be glad to take the lead and see what I could do, and certainly wouldn't be shy to ask for help in the instance that I need it.
So Chief Bochamp would probably be a good resource as well, since they apply for a lot of grants.
Perhaps, but I just don't know how busy he is with considering building a new fire department, so I wouldn't want to wear my welcome. But if I got stuck, I could sure try to ask, or maybe have Scott. So I was just looking for the proper language that I would say with a motion. I would be, Attorney Thal, could we just call it the BRIC, the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities?
Sure.
I make a motion for the Township Board to approve submitting a grant for the BRIC, Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities for outdoor warning signals. Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Trustee Amos. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Alrighty. Moving along to reports, Superintendent Hess.
I didn't really have somebody off at the conference last week, but I did get some news. Just one quick thing, it's a chill grant, a neighborhood block grant that I applied for $800,000 to help rehabilitate homes. Made it through round one, so that's a good thing because they really surged in the first round. So hopefully they finish up, that'll happen and we can do some good. The other reports are on.
Okay, thank you. Any board member questions on any of that? We have reports. We have cash summary by fund, March 2026, cash summary by bank account, March 2026, quarterly investment report for the first quarter, 2026, bills paid April 9th through the 23rd, 2026, February and March 2026 attorney bills. We have Parks and Recreations 2025 annual report and the DDA director resignation letter. And then we have FOIA requests. And moving along to public comments. These are public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor, and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members. But you are welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. Their contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
John Charlie, 9850 Miller Drive, Gillsburg, Michigan. Hopefully everyone will stay for my public comment here. You know, I think we need a Generac generator or something here. You know, we built this building for like millions of dollars, $1.5 million or something like that. I think we could have spent like $15,000, $20,000 on a generator to run it. That's just a thought, you know. It wouldn't be more than that just because this was 4 or 5 years ago before COVID. Or was it before COVID? I don't know. The years go together. You know, I actually, you know, it was pretty amazing to watch some of the comments up here. It was just sad. You know, you tell us to be clean and respectful, but some of the people up here can't be clean and respectful either. You know, just saying it. It is also weird that we've seen, usually it's 4-3 one way and people flip-flop, you know, which is good. I'm glad to see board members actually working together and getting through stuff and not just fighting. We fought earlier in the meeting, which who knows if that will be on PMN, because I think his battery died halfway through it, you know, but it was good to actually see board members working together and finally doing something. The ZBA stuff has been on the agenda for, I don't know, 2 months now, when we finally got the ball rolling, and it's good. You know, again, I think we need to maybe get a bid process or something on a Generac generator, or we need to look at the foundation over here too, because the water was really high. But what about eroding? Is the township hall that my taxes paid for, is it gonna go in the river here soon? With all this high water is eroding, and like, you know, we're gonna be sitting in a meeting, we're just gonna fall in. You know, we're pretty close to that river here. So, I just want to say thank you for staying for my public comment. Thanks.
Sharon Height. I was very disappointed at the April 6th meeting when I saw Mr. Camburn hand a letter to Clerk Beauchamp, to Trustees Pratt, Cherry, and MacGyver, planning a walkout. You were elected, all of you, to represent us and to listen to what we have to say. And yes, I will agree, a lot of stuff is not nice. But but you were elected to sit and listen to it. Just like I have to look at my picture on Facebook by a certain group that has also listed us as liars, mini-MAGA cult, groupies, minions, puppets, clowns, ignorant, simple-minded, idiots, angry villagers. So yeah, I have to listen to it too, and it goes out on public websites that anybody can see. I don't like it. And I find it totally disgusting that Mr. Camburn and his wife Jonica planned that walkout. Enough said about that. As far as the sirens, I'm glad to see that you guys voted to possibly do it. Our supervisor suggested the storm today. I was out in my garage. We had a severe thunderstorm warning for Kalamazoo County. My phone didn't go off. That's one of the things that they kept saying. Oh, people have phones, people have televisions, people have radios. Power went out. Didn't have. Sorry. They aren't just tornado sirens, they're warning sirens. Just found out from my husband that a neighbor about 5 houses down had a tree go down on their house in this severe thunderstorm warning. And was there any sirens out there to alert people? Did they know that they really truly needed to go to their basement because a tree was going to collapse on their house? No, they did not have any kind of warning. So I commend you all for voting to go forward with trying to get this paid for. Our community really needs it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, Bill Korb, I live up on Doe Avenue. Also a candidate for state rep here, so I'm kind of speaking in two houses here. But I do want to speak on the decorum fact. Decorum has constantly been used to keep marginalized people and their voices down by people in power. So when we talk about what is respectability and what isn't, I agree that personal attacks are extremely shitty. But other things need to be considered also. And on top of that, if you can't handle the public comments when you're serving in public service, then you should leave public office. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I handed some of you this report on $9 million. It was supposed to be spent for the fire department, senior millage, water and sewer. You know what? That was in 2021. 2022 is when you got this building. All that money went in your pockets and went to this, which should have been used for this. So you guys let the public down on that. I have proof right here. You guys want to see it? It was signed by Brett Paget, Randy Thompson, and back then the Township Clerk was Mahoney. I have proof. And key aspects of free speech at public meetings. Seems that you guys have not seen this. Viewpoint. Boards cannot stop you from speaking simply because they disagree with your opinion or find it offensive. Topic reactions. Boards may limit comments to specify agenda matters with the board's jurisdiction or the other comments. Actual disruption standards. You generally cannot be removed unless your speech actions cause actual disruption that impedes the meeting's progress. Next one, rules of decorum. Boards adopt rules for decorum, such as preventing staff and other residents, provide they are applied continuously. Public comment periods. Why, First Amendment protects the speech. State laws like the Michigan Open Meetings Act often specify grant the public the right to speak. Time, place, and manner. You guys pick the time. You say 3 minutes. Residents do have the right to speak do not have the right to speak anytime. Wait for designated public comments, in which we do. Disruption policies. According to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, if a meeting is broken up or untruly behavior, the board has the right to remove individuals to clear the room. Public and private boards. These rights apply to the government bodies, public school boards, and city councils. They do not apply to public HOAs. Private citizens, the protection apply to your speech as a private citizen addressing public concerns. There's your rules. You guys want a copy? Do you need one of these? I think you all do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Sit there, roll your eyes.
Okay, now after that, and the lights have come back on, and Dave, please don't say anything to my husband anymore. Some people have asked me to dig into some records. Okay, I found the one on the Ponzi scheme. Despite $1 million in losses, Michigan Town agrees to return Ponzi scheme transfers. August 11th, 2013. I have the whole entire thing right here. No, it's not made up. It's right here in black and white, and I dug to find it. In case demonstration, the interplay between federal bankruptcy law and Ponzi scheme litigation, a Michigan town has agreed to repay funds it received from a $12.9 million Ponzi scheme, even though the town suffered nearly $1 million in losses. After previously making $500,000 good faith payment, Comstock announced it will repay $900,000, bringing the settlement nearly to $700,000. It's all right here. So if anybody else from the township would like this, I want to enter this in for starters. There is a background on the Ponzi scheme.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. I got one more, and then you can have four. This one, I am not picking on anybody in particular, but the way it was done, and I'm just gonna say this, was pretty shitty. Nicole, yeah, it's got you in there. I'm not doing it because, I'm doing it because what you did to us.
Jeannie, if you'd like to hand them to us, we'll just pass them down.
Okay.
If you want to just hand them all to us, we'll pass them down.
I don't have enough for everybody.
Okay.
All right, this is on cemetery. I would like to have the board consider, seems how everybody thinks we're rich, and we can put fresh flowers on our people with shepherd hooks. You can't put anything on there in the winter. You have ruined my life by not letting me go up there and put what I want on my parents, my uncles, my aunts, and my grandfather. And there are other people in this audience that feel the same way. You took it and you ran with it. Matter of fact, we had to change plots, in case you don't remember this, because there was another body in our plot. They don't even know who it is. All I'm saying
Thank you, ma'am.
is do something.
Lynette McCurley, as I said before, I've just started attending, but in the times that I've attended, I've noted there's been a lot of comments about being more transparent and understanding the agenda and stuff. And I wanted to talk about the Sirens, but I figured that wasn't anywhere on the agenda that I could see, so I needed to wait. I would like to submit that, just to be more transparent, if you even followed an outline format and did that with your agendas and things, then there would be more clarity under each item, or could be, so that I would know you're going to talk about the sirens. I didn't see anything on here that let me know that. I also want you to think about that because the last 2 times our internet has went out when there's been storms, so I couldn't get any warnings anywhere on my phone or on my TV. Then when the internet came back up, then I had to look on YouTube because it wasn't a warning, it was a watch. And Channel 3 informed me they're not going to do watches and stuff anymore. They're only going to do warnings, but if you watch them on YouTube, so I turned to YouTube and I got to watch a lot of ads before I could even find out what was going on with the weather. And that just doesn't feel very good, and I know that you spend money the way you think you should, but I know there's been pay increases and insurance changes, and I would like to see something that directly affects me, and having something like the warning sirens would really help me feel that you're doing something for me. I don't use our parks, I don't do those other things, so thinking more in terms of everyone, I would like to see that, and I would like to have more transparency like we've discussed even the last few meetings I've attended, and I still see things are basically the same.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Bob, you need to quit being prejudiced against Ben. You started all the time with him for no reason. Of all the 4, you're the worst. But this deal with the sirens, that's a great idea. I like that idea. That's good. You're gonna spend maybe $13 million on the fire department, but you don't want to buy sirens because you're afraid it's going to cost you. $13 million on that fire department, that's quite a bit, plus what else you're putting in it. And Nicole, Terry, and Terry, you guys were just playing games with him when he was asking you questions, running back and forth. That should stop. You guys keep talking about you don't want to fight and argue. Start doing it the right way. Look at yourself. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Autumn Smith. I want to address a couple things. The false claim that the Township Board must approve at every use of the township headers by the Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals. Under Michigan law, the Zoning Board of Appeals is created by an ordinance that adopts its own procedural rules. Comstock's own bylaws state they exist to perform duties under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. Comstock also publicly posts separate Planning and Zoning Commission and ZBA agendas, minutes, and notices under the identification already. These are official bodies, not private clubs, so by asking them to separate, you're asking them to divorce themselves from the Comstock Township. So hopefully I just saved you guys money and you won't have to use Rob Thal because it's called the Zoning Enabling Act. You can Google it. It's not that hard. You don't have to be a Google scholar. Secondly, in regards to the walking out at the meeting, yes, in fact, Township board members in Michigan can face serious consequences for walking off during public comment before a meeting is adjourned, as this could be considered a breach of duty. MCL 42.7. A township board member who refuses to attend a meeting or fails to conduct themselves in an orderly manner is guilty of misconduct in office, which is MCL 75505, a common law felony. So, and since it was brought up earlier about people talking about people's family members, daughters, sons, husbands, I'll admit it. I talked about Mrs. Cherry's husband, Guy Cherry, and magically I got a random phone call at about 8:30 the other night from Jeff Titus, who confirmed everything I said was true and thanked me. Good evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
You ain't gonna like what I gotta say, so go ahead. Right, a lot of people ain't gonna like it.
They probably aren't gonna like what I say either. Okay, I'd like to address a couple of things. Walking out of the meeting was a protest of what's going on here. And yes, we stated in that letter that we put out that we would walk out if conditions happened that happened. That was the continuous insulting and abusive behavior. So, may I continue?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can you rewind him a little time, please? And please, can we not have comments? The speaker has the floor. How about that? Can we just try that for everybody? It would go so much smoother.
It would.
Please.
It really would. Okay, so we have differences of opinions, but the situation has been out of control for a long time. So sometimes public takes action to show their disgust or disapproval of things. Protests, back in the 60s, people had sit-ins and walkouts and all that. And I'm old, I remember that, it works. I walked out for a reason. And yes, we told people, do this if something else happens, not to walk out for no reason. So, sorry if you didn't like that. As far as the comment about the money for this building going into your pockets, I don't understand that. I don't understand that comment. Who got rich off this? Who got a new car or a better steak? Who got rich off it? I just don't see it. As far as leaving the meeting, if a board member becomes ill, are they required to stay and continue to be ill through the meeting? I say no. One other thing, although Autumn Summer mentioned the ZBA rules and so forth, the question was about the Planning Commission meeting, not about the Zoning Board of Appeals. So her point is moot. As far as the sessions of public comment, I would like to say the board has the ability to determine what action is going to be done. You only have to have one public comment, and you can have that at the end. But they have this type of...
Ma'am, please.
Thank you. Anyway, I don't think there's a need for 2 sessions of verbal abuse. Finally, I believe Mrs. Height had an excellent suggestion a while back. Buy the lot next door to the fire station that we have out there, build out, not up, build out, offer them a huge price for their lot. I'll bet they'll sell it. And we can save a lot of money on a new station. Yes, time is of essence, but money is too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. So I'm going to be very, very honest because that's the only way I know how to be. I came down here with the intent of asking for 2 of your resignations tonight. I'm not going to do that simply because of a couple of comments that you made. Nicole, my hat's off to you. At least you admit that you are here to service. And I don't think you'll be walking out again. And same way with you, Christy. I'm sorry that the people attack you. Your daughter, I don't know. I do know your husband a little bit, but I know Paul. He lived 2 houses down from me. I know him very well. However, I know earlier today there was an article that I read that somebody, and I don't know who, took great pride, I think, in you being censored, Sandy. It was on, I don't know, Facebook or something that I read. I don't know who leaked it to the press or it was leaked or whatever. But Nicole and Christy, your actions for the last meeting should not go unpunished. If nothing else, I'm going to say you violated my right to be able to air my grievances, which is a violation of the First Amendment, but you also caused a hostile work environment. Basically the same thing that she was censored for. And I'm going to ask the superintendent to look forward and look into that about censoring these two for walking out of it. You can, you know. The other thing I have that I want to talk to you about is, and my hat's off to you, little man, about how you always back out when it comes to your business. You're smart enough to realize about a conflict of interest. I brought this up on a couple of occasions, and even to you, Mr. Mouthpiece, about the conflict of interest here between Ms. Beauchamp and her brother being the fire chief, and Christy Cherry and her husband, and I can't prove that was him that made the allegation towards your business, Ben, but somebody who who redacted that knows who wrote that and did that. And if that is indeed your husband who wrote that, which I'm pretty sure we all know it was, anytime that you vote, anytime that you discuss that is a violation of a conflict of interest. And same thing with you, Nicole, anytime that you have any discussions on that fire department or vote on anything that has to do with that fire department is a conflict of interest. You people need to learn and take credit from the little guy about when to shut up and when not to have anything to do with it and when to walk away. I think any votes that you guys have taken for procurement of fire equipment or anything like that, or anything that's pending, should be declared null and void, simply because of the conflict of interest. Like I said, at this time, I'm not asking for resignations. I just retired, so I've got nothing but time to start coming to these meetings. But I want to see you guys, you know, it's like when I was a kid with my brother. If we fought and argued, we had to hold hands.
Thank you.
Oh, and I am not going to shut up at that goddamn agenda either, where I can only talk on the agenda. You better have the cops here.
Mary Gustus, 5850 J Seal. I'm not going to talk anything about you guys. I want to express my concern about the open house that the homeless people had in the woods behind my house. They have a nice place where they are parking on Sprinkle Road, and there's a little path that they were going to the party on Saturday. And I'm concerned for my safety, for my neighbor's safety, and perhaps somebody can go in and check on that. I am more than happy to have water testing kits at the Comstock Community Center. I think that that might be a great place to distribute them as well. Ben, I will be more than happy to help you with the grant for the Sirens. I've been fighting for Sirens in this community for a long time, and I think that you have to just provide intent on by the 29th. The actual grant does not need to be submitted. I have written a few grants myself and been successful in $1 million grants, so perhaps I might be able to assist. The other thing is a difficult position for me to be in. Commissioner Geisler mentioned the child care millage. I don't know whether or not it will be approved by the county commissioners. It is being presented to be put on the ballot in November. It's a half mill. And I am concerned about the additional taxation. We have seen already with the senior millage, the countywide senior millage, and the lack of funds that come to Comstock or services that come to Comstock. I see that same thing happening with regard to the child care millage. It's also a large millage, a half mill for the county that will generate millions of dollars, and I don't believe that it will be distributed effectively to the outlying areas. The city of Kalamazoo and the city of Portage will get the majority of that. And although I have a child care facility under my realm, I would really encourage, if it does get on the ballot, that you would vote no. It's a difficult thing. I provide services for infants through 12-year-olds, and it's hard for me to take that position, but I really think for the benefit of the community as well as our citizens and our overtaxation that occurs. So
Thank you, ma'am.
I think I'm done.
Hi. This isn't how I wanted to spend my birthday, but here I am. Thank you.
I'll give you the spanking.
Ah, not 65 times, you won't. Okay, I'm glad the fire department was not on the agenda, or the Sirens, because I wanted to talk about them and felt that I couldn't. I don't understand how Ben, when it was, the fire department's budget was addressed, and there was enough for all 9 of them in the budget, but Ben said, well, how about if we just do 3 for the next 3 years? And 4 of you voted that down. You thought a millage would be better, which I disagree. Now we're going for the grant. Thank God we're going for the grant, because it's something we need. We can hear them. We are not getting notified by anything else. You say you take notes, but you don't listen to us. If you're listening to us, you'd be voting for us and what we're wanting, not just what a few people want. A few signs you might see around there's chaos. Not sure what that chaos is, because I sure saw it tonight, and I don't think it was from the 4. Personal items issues do not need to be discussed here. We're paying money for this. Take down my name, Sean Crummell, so then I can have your little person come up and harass me about shit that my dad left me that I can't get rid of. I don't know. Let's work together. Let's listen to what we want. We didn't want the battery plant. That's why you have all of this discussion here, because you guys hid it from us for so long. You weren't open. You weren't transparent. That's all this community is asking, for you to be open and transparent. Is that too hard? And the fire department, I'm sorry, now I know why we didn't have sirens, because we want to build a new one further towards Galesburg. That makes a lot of sense, away from our community. I agree with him. Buy the property next to it. Buy East School. Do something there. You're not lowering our taxes. You're not doing what we're asking. You're spending it. You're wasting it on frivolous lawsuits or bickering that you're trying, attorney fees that you're trying to come up with something. Just get along.
Thank you, ma'am.
Haven't even started. Yeah, this was a really productive one, I'd say, more or less. Lights on, lights off. I'd like to congratulate everybody. I thought that for the most part, everything was better than the last one. So, baby steps. I agree with a lot of what people said. The personal attacks are tough. I don't think they're warranted. Board Member Pratt said, is that him and I had a conversation afterwards. I don't have any problem with it. I was overly enthusiastic. That's my natural state. But him and I talked for probably about 30 minutes afterwards, and I appreciate that he gave me the time to do that. And I thought that we made a lot of progress in it. I said expanded on some of the things that I had said there, which is what I don't have any ill towards anybody, and that I will always work to hold you guys to the same levels that I would hold myself, and I can't even attain those myself. But I will never ask you, and I don't think anybody here will ever ask you to do something that they wouldn't do themselves. And it is, like young man has said, you know, with you, Nicole, I think you do a wonderful job. My only concern is what I had stated previously months ago, which is what I think it's a conflict of interest for you to vote on anything in relation because of that familiar relationship, despite whatever the law says. I mean, I think that you understand that that's a problem. I think that the law allows you to do that, and so that it's done like that, and it's a tough situation for you to be in. I don't hold any ill will, or does anybody think that they do, or there's anything nefarious. It's just not what is appropriate, and I think that that is the primary concern, and that I think you even removing yourself or abstaining from votes doesn't even impact the board or not, but it makes the board look really good, because for the most part, I mean, there's real no reason not to support the public safety. I mean, everybody agrees. We just disagree on the amount spending. And so, like everybody said, I think we're getting real close to being more cordial than we were last week. You know, I don't know. This was a really good, for the most part, productive meeting, so I appreciate you guys all.
Thank you, sir.
Evening, Dean Rockwell, Fallen Middle Trail. I apologize if my comments earlier were not agenda related. I didn't think that was an inappropriate time to address the format. For the second, I do want to thank your Parks and Rec Department who've been helping the VFW establish the Memorial Day Parade, and always our community partners at the Comstock Community Center. Our auxiliary works with them every day, and they're great over there. I've spent the last several weeks meeting with a lot of people that actually are part of the recall effort to recall Martin, Bloomfield, Amos. I'm surrounded by people that are, you know, not in that all there, so I've made it a point to speak and reach out to see what their concerns are. One of the main things was board officials' pay. So I did do some research to see if Supervisor Martin, and by my affiliation and getting that stipend, even though mine is donated, is a lot. So Comstock Charter Township, with Supervisor Martin's pay of $10,000 and mine $5,000, we are in the bottom 8% of all of Michigan, according to the MTA and the research. So, you know, I have relayed that to them, that of course the board can change anybody's pay, but we are nowhere near spending a lot of money on the supervisor's duties. And I get that you are a, you know, lightning rod of, you know, focus because it's Supervisor Martin. But of course, when he's done, just like Superintendent Hess, he or she is going to carry that same wages going forward. Because on the opposite side, we are in the top 15% for our superintendent pay. And so I've had these conversations with a lot of residents who support this recall, and that is just my research. You can, of course, that is based on a per capita there for our approximate 15,600 residents. One of the other concerns that they relayed was meeting with people. So because they haven't seen Supervisor Martin or myself meet with people down here, and I'm assuming that someone who works here conveys that they don't see Supervisor Martin or myself here, that isn't because of us. I have met with dozens of families, as well as Ben. He gets emails, phone calls. We meet with people every other week. But they request that it doesn't happen here. One of the earlier people we met with felt that they were going to have retaliation against them. They had someone taking pictures, ordinance stuff, and so people talk, and so that is their concern. If anybody would still like to meet with Supervisor Martin or myself, whether it be here at the township or elsewhere, we do it all the time. Just because you don't see it is because we're not trying to, you know, put that person's business out there. He respectfully goes to the township full-time employees and tries and get to the bottom of it. And that's what I think you would expect from a supervisor with limited duties. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Julie Ferris, and you know who I am. So I just want to get up here and say, tonight it was really nice to see, instead of 4-3, that you guys mixed it up a little. So that was quite interesting. But I'm pretty disturbed. Pratt, I know you have children, correct? And sitting back there in the way that you talk and treat my son and go after that all the time. Look at the crowd right here. You have 50 people and you have 5 out here. When are the 4 of you going to realize it's not about Ben Martin, it's about Comstock, the people who put you in the chairs you're in now? So would you stop? When is it going to stop? It's been how many years? How many years do you have to keep attacking Soil Friends Farm and the Martin family? I want to know. So I hope at your end of your discussion, you can answer that. The 4 of you, put it, just say, is it because he's intelligent? Are you offended? Is there something that you're hiding? I just don't understand. My grandchild is 14 years old and he watches every move. You're not just affecting him. You're affecting the people. Like I said, is the trigger going to go off that Comstock puts you in these seats? These people, there's more that are for the 3 of them than the 4 of you. So listen to your people. That's all I have to say. I don't live in Comstock. I live in Richland, but I'm glad I don't live here, but my family does, because I feel sorry for these folks. I feel totally sorry for them. So when are one of you going to change up? My mother taught me, nothing bad lasts forever, and it's about ready to end. I can feel it. I pray every day for it. Nothing bad for you guys. I love each and every one of you. And take the pain. People don't say nice things about me either. Do you think Ben, he sits up there, look what he gets. I'd have walked away a long time ago for the $10,000 or whatever he gets. Is it really worth it? But he loves his people. So give the man some credit. Pratt, get over yourself, grow up, and have a look. I want to pray for you tonight. I don't know how you sleep. Truly, I don't know how you sleep.
Thank you.
And yeah, he is Mommy's boy. We'll say that tonight.
There ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
Please no speaking from the crowd.
Yeah. So Eric Murphy, I live at 6355 Woodley Drive. I heard us, we talked about citizen comment today, and in talking about that citizen comment, I was encouraged to hear that we want to use citizen comment to hear the public and serve the public, and I do want to see people remain civil. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I would like to ask this board again to consider just how much of this community showed up when we held that hearing on Soil Friends. These people showed up to stress how much they want Ben to remain their supervisor. We voted as a majority in Comstock to have Ben as our supervisor, and that's what this community, I feel, showed up and asked for. In other instances where people are perhaps in violation of our city ordinance, I see us make exceptions. But when it's Ben, I see us attack his very livelihood. His winemaker license is a big part of how he functions, how he feeds his family, how he takes care of himself. And I find it particularly sad that we're watching this board attack another board member's livelihood. I would say that same thing for anybody else who was sitting up there if I was watching it happen. I don't think we have anything to gain by trying to dig deeper into any of this. It bothers me that we're spending money doing what I see as spinning tires, going deeper into this. And I would just, again, request that we stop, let the vote carry on as we have it. If people want Ben removed, there are ways to do that. I'll just leave that where it is. And I wanted to follow up. I was hoping to speak a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to save this story to share with everybody regarding the tornado sirens, which we did bring up this meeting. It's probably almost a month ago now. It was that Thursday over spring break when the students were out. On that Thursday, there was not severe weather predicted here in this area. I check the weather every morning. Pretty interested in the weather, actually. But there were not severe storms predicted. There was not any real warning given. I happened to be outside cutting up a tree that was recently blown over previous to that storm and another windstorm that we had. And when I stopped running my chainsaw, in the faint distance, I heard the sirens from Kalamazoo. And that was the only way that I knew that there were funnel clouds heading our way. And that's what led me to go inside, turn on the news, and figure out that, in fact, I needed to go tell my kid we needed to go take shelter. That's an absolutely true story, and I wanted to share with the board. We'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And my wife.
Any further comments this evening? Being there are no further comments, we'll be moving along to members' comments. Trustee Cherry?
No, not tonight. It falls on deaf ears, so I appreciate the chance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Amos?
I'm good, thanks.
Trustee Pratt?
Just a short comment here. Microphone. Thank you. Many times, for all of us, it's can be a very difficult situation. Some of the comments here I just will respond to that was directed toward me. I have no anger toward Ben as a supervisor or as a person, but I was elected here, as everyone else here, to support the ordinances of this township and the laws of the state and nation. And if that wasn't the situation that came up, as I've talked to Ben personally after a meeting a few weeks ago, I had no knowledge of the ordinance that is on our books. But once I became aware of it, I cannot look away, and I explained that during the meeting. We have to go through this process, and I hope the best for Ben and his business. I think it's an asset for our community, but I cannot look away from an ordinance that's on our books, and we have to go through this process. Again, it's in Lansing, and they will respond to it in time and get back to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Clerk Beauchamp?
I have nothing.
Trustee MacGyver?
No, thank you, I'm all set.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Of course. I have a couple of things. First off, I don't know who's responsible for this, but Superintendent Hess, when or who takes down the Christmas flags in the downtown area?
Talk to the DDA.
Okay, well, this is April, so almost May. So,
They're working on it.
yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, that should have been done. Yeah, we're almost to May, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, I would like to know who from this board, or if it was the attorney, or whom, that sent the letter to the Liquor Control Commission that was authorized by this township board. And I did not receive that letter. As a board member, I sure would like to have that letter. I think I am entitled to it as the rest of the board is. So I don't know who else has received that, who sent it, who it was signed by. So I would like that. Also, again, the Liquor Control Commission manages liquor licenses, not the township. And once again, our ordinance, as dated as it may seem, and we do have a lot of them on the books that the Planning Commission needs to get to, the ordinance is for someone who has a liquor license that is an elected official. It has nothing to do with their business. So I'll be interested to see if that comes back from the attorney after we spend money, if I was right on that one. He's shaking his head, yes. Okay, and last, this I'm going to throw in the attorney's hands also. Those of you that follow this township board know that when the happenings was going on with White attorney who was supposed to be helping us work together, but that's not really what happened out of Grand Rapids. I invoked the state law for anything to do with the treasurer's office or myself personally does not go into closed session and will remain transparent. With that being said, I'm going to flip this to the attorney tonight and see if he will address the email that was sent to the Township Board tonight.
So the email that I sent to the board tonight was based upon the treasurer's email to me. I don't know if all the board members have even seen it, but I did send an email out. And in that email, I said that I was going to forward matters to both the prosecutor's office and attorney general's office for their opinion on Superintendent Hess's contract.
I took a screenshot of something here, so I'm going to use my phone for just 1 second. It is my township phone, and I don't know here. As the treasurer, I am responsible for funds, and this goes back to the superintendent's oath of office. So I am glad to hear that however this works out, it is now amongst the public that you know that your township board is looking into it for purposes of being legal and how we can work through this with the attorney. And there is one more thing I wanted to say with this, and that was, part of it was an email that I did send to you, Attorney Thal, and part of it was to do with making sure that we work through this and we work through it legally, and that is why Attorney Thal forwarded it to the Attorney General and to the prosecuting attorney here in the county. And if we don't take care of this legally as a board as we should, we could be liable for funds distributed that are not legally being distributed the way they should be, which it's not just protecting the township from liability for me, it is also protecting the superintendent as well. So I will be in contact with Attorney Thal and also with legal counsel for moving this forward to make sure that we work through this together. And that's my transparency for the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. Well, we have new appointments to the DDA. Previously, there was a hired DDA director. They would have been responsible for those banners. The baton wasn't passed to the DDA very appropriately, so we did have a chair take over, a couple volunteer members, and our first agenda was a little rough, spell check and different documents. The internet ate us up pretty good, but it made us better, and we corrected those mistakes. So one of the things that was past due before the DDA resignations were the Christmas banners. So we've worked with a company that has an outdated contract, and then we're gonna see if we want to engage further to render their services. That would help update the banners. We have some new training opportunities, particularly involving Michigan Downtown Association on how to run a DDA board and what that means to be on a DDA. And then we were all authorized DDA emails. We have some training, we renewed some memberships. We have a board of 9 individuals, and everybody is eager to serve. A couple of them are business owners, members of the DDA. I worked with Attorney Thaw on the appointments to make sure that under the statute that it was done appropriately. And we're really looking forward for an opportunity to move the DDA forward. The Homeless Committee update, we have Attorney Thaw has been working on the ordinance, so we can get together to do an ordinance review. And then the Sirens, I likely will take Mary up on her offer, and likely Deputy Supervisor Rockwell, as well as William Knight, helped get the Sirens moving along. And then from there, I will bump around and see whatever help I can get, and get that filed in time for the intent. If there are no further board member comments, this meeting is adjourned.